Hello, everyone. I hope you are amazing. Enjoying your weekend. I'm recording this on the weekend of August the 2nd. So happy that you're listening. I'm excited to bring you chapter 1 of the book Ayahuasca A Beginner's Guide, How to Prepare for Your Ceremony. In chapter 1, we explore the beautiful, amazing spirit and plant of ayahuasca. This chapter is called Meeting the Vine, and we talk about how ayahuasca affects the brain, research on ayahuasca, effects of ayahuasca on you as a participant, benefits of ayahuasca, physical risks of ayahuasca, and psychological risks. It's important to know what you're getting into when you step into a ceremonial space, and you really need to be prepared psychologically. So we're giving you this foundational footing to help you get prepared for your first sit with this beautiful plant. Sit back and enjoy. Chapter 1, Meeting the Vine.
Chapter 1, Meeting the Vine. A woody vine is mixed with leaves from a bush to create a concoction that the native shamanic people believe can set the soul free from corporeal confinement, allowing the soul to roam free and visit other realms that are not bound by space or time. Grandmother Ayahuasca, Christian Funder. Now that we understand what ayahuasca is, and its origins and use in ceremonies, let's discuss the benefits and possible side effects of consuming this psychedelic brew. How does ayahuasca affect the brain? In the clinical sense, ayahuasca causes hallucinations within 30 minutes of being consumed. However, people who have consumed other psychedelics, like LSD, believe that the visions or experiences associated with this brew are more spiritual and mystical. Therefore, most people who participate in ayahuasca ceremonies don't do so for recreational purposes, though there might be some exceptions. Research. While we still need much more research on how ayahuasca affects the brain, some studies have been conducted on this topic. For example, a 2018 study published in Frontiers in Neuroscience investigated how DMT can regulate brain function and how it shows promise in treating mental illnesses. Barker, 2018. One of the most promising areas of this research is the effect of ayahuasca and other psychedelics in the treatment of those mental illnesses which have shown resistance to conventional methods. Researchers believe that these psychedelics can affect neural activity so that they can change how we express emotions and think and behave. Most brain imaging studies want to establish a connection between the effects of psychedelics like ayahuasca on the default mode network, DMN. This brain area activates when the mind is at rest or disengaged from the outside world. When the DMN gets overly active, it can lead to excessive rumination and anxiety about the future. It's also been linked to the ego, which means that when we spend too much time thinking about ourselves, not self-reflectively, but in an obsessive manner, we tend to get depressed. Now, experts say that psychedelics have a calming effect on DMN. In other words, they can help reduce frenzied activity in the brain. Since this area is believed to have ties to addiction disorders as well, there is a lot of promise in treating depression, phobias, and addiction disorders using psychedelics like ayahuasca. Since ayahuasca is said to impact the brain's limbic system and visual cortex, it can directly impact how we process memories and emotions. This results in many vivid images shown to us when we consume ayahuasca. These memories contain details of our past and traumas that we might have kept from ourselves. When we see these memories resurface in visions, we are profoundly affected by them. In 2016, a paper in Frontiers in Pharmacology aimed to delve deeper into the therapeutic effects of ayahuasca. According to the results, the two main conclusions of the paper were that ayahuasca might be beneficial in reducing chronic inflammation in our bodies. We need to understand the benefits of ayahuasca solely from a biological or scientific perspective. Fresca et al., 2016. These conclusions are interesting for a variety of reasons. For one, the reduction of chronic inflammation through the use of ayahuasca would be a great find for several reasons. Inflammation occurs in our bodies when we have an infection. This is usually due to the immune system getting signals to fight off an infection. Sometimes our immune system malfunctions and becomes overly active. In such a scenario, inflammation occurs without any trigger. While acute inflammation can be resolved in a short duration of time, chronic inflammation is usually lifelong. Inflammation has been linked to various diseases, including autoimmune disorders, chronic pain, and cancer. This is why this study offers hope. I have had direct experience with ayahuasca's healing potential. I have suffered from psoriasis since childhood. Psoriasis is an autoimmune disease that causes lesions on my body that sometimes itch and are uncomfortable. Ayahuasca helps keep the inflammation under control, and my skin is mostly clear of psoriasis after ingesting this magical brew. The second part of the conclusion states that a truly comprehensive account of ayahuasca can only be made if we consider its biological, social, psychological, and spiritual effects. This is a significant step forward in the understanding of psychedelics, especially plant-based entheogens. When a scientific paper gives credence to the spiritual aspects of a psychedelic, it shows an increase in the acceptance of these compounds for therapeutic and spiritual purposes. Another review of the research being done in the field of psychiatry was published in Current Neuropharmacology. It concluded that the research conducted by various scientists indicates that ayahuasca can be used to treat various mental disorders. Regarding side effects, the research shows that the effects are mild and not too worrying. However, more research with larger groups is needed. Another significant point noted in the paper was that more researchers in the scientific community are keen on the relaxation of government laws regarding psychedelics. By this, they mean that it should be easier for scientists to research the therapeutic effects of ayahuasca on people with mental disorders. Hamill et al., 2019. Again, this indicates that the scientific community's attitude is changing concerning ayahuasca and other psychedelics. While it might be too soon to rejoice, the future looks promising for psychedelics and ayahuasca. Before going into ayahuasca's physical and psychological effects, let's talk about set and setting. When scientists started to gain an understanding of the properties and effects of psychedelics, two things came into sharp focus. It was understood that psychedelics do not work on their own. While they have inherent properties that can induce similar effects across multiple individuals, the individuals themselves can profoundly affect how these psychedelics work. Set refers to a person's state of mind when consuming the drink. This would mean that their mood can significantly impact how ayahuasca affects them. If you have certain expectations regarding how the ceremony will go, your experience will also be moderated by those expectations. This is true even if you have had previous experiences with ayahuasca or other psychedelics. If you go into a session with feelings of fear and anxiety, chances are that your actual trip might justify those feelings. Similarly, if you've previously seen spectacular visions on a psychedelic trip, you will also be influencing your subconscious during this experience. This is why much emphasis is placed on understanding the psyche of anyone who wants to participate in a session or ceremony. This is especially important in clinical trials, but it might impact the participants even in spiritual ceremonies. Setting refers to the environment in which the psychedelic is being consumed. Where are you participating in the ceremony? Is it a closed or suffocating space? Is it a small but cozy room? Is it in the great outdoors? Who are the people with you? Do you trust your surroundings? Do you trust your guide? Do you feel safe enough to be vulnerable? Is the environment calm and peaceful, or is it too noisy? What kind of music, if any, is being played? All these affect your experience. Your environmental conditions don't need to be overt. They can be extremely subtle things, like the vibes you get from a place. This might seem weird to someone outside this experience, but these energies matter when dealing with spiritual forces. Even in clinical settings, therapists go to great lengths to ensure that the participants feel calm and centered before the studies begin. I can't overemphasize how important the setting is to your experience. Everything is energy. If the container you are stepping into for the ceremony is polluted, it will harm your experience. I am already sensitive to public spaces, and I can feel the energy. Ayahuasca magnifies this sensitivity. Ideally, I look for a place that is a sacred temple, or that is in nature. Visit the place before the ceremony to feel into the energy to determine if it's right for you. If something feels off energetically, find a new location. Effects of ayahuasca. The effects of ayahuasca vary widely according to the amount taken by the participant, the strength of the decoction, and the effect of the other plants or substances being used. Even a person's size, weight, and physical health might modulate the effect of ayahuasca. Additionally, some people metabolize the ayahuasca slower than others. So don't be surprised if the effects hit the person next to you more rapidly. The most widely accepted psychological effects of ayahuasca include having stronger emotions than usual that are mostly related to your past experiences, experiencing intense visions, which can be related to our own experiences or feelings, or can be intensely spiritual or mystical, a warped sense of time and space, feeling your consciousness expand and getting closer to the universal consciousness, moving through or reliving childhood traumas and processing past traumatic experiences to heal. The visions, if experienced, don't necessarily have to be visual. Sometimes these visions are related to the music that plays in the background, various additional sounds experienced by us, or a message we are meant to hear. It's believed that many people lose their sense of time and space and feel they have accessed a higher dimension. It is not uncommon to have a conversation with the spirit of ayahuasca. Like a teacher, she can illuminate an aspect of our journey and bring clarity to our lives. Benefits. There are numerous benefits. For one, ayahuasca is a great spiritual teacher. When we come out of an ayahuasca experience, we find ourselves more spiritually inclined. We tend to have greater respect for the unknown and believe that their energies are affected by those that don't exist on the material plane. This is frequently referred to as the unseen world. Before I started my journey with ayahuasca, I had very little connection to this dimension of life, and now I feel great respect and connection to the spirit world. The important thing is to remain open and curious. Nobody is asking us to shift our beliefs. However, ayahuasca does open us up in mysterious ways. When we are more spiritually connected to ourselves, we tend to feel a sense of calm and an anxiety reduction. We understand that there's more to life than the struggles we usually concern ourselves with. This doesn't mean that we begin to have delusions of grandeur, though we should always check for that, but rather that we understand something about our higher purpose. When we experience spiritual energies around us, we feel protected in our path, and we have faith that life will work out for us as long as we are true to ourselves. This can also help us let go of any wounds or pain we have been holding on to, and experience a spiritual cleansing. Visions happen when we're meant to have them. Remember that ayahuasca gives us what we need, not what we want. Use these visions to help shape your spiritual journal, and let them guide you toward more profound meaning and connection to yourself and the divine. Witnessing mystical phenomena feels like our worldview has been changed for the better. Not only do we feel more connected to the forces in nature, but we also develop the courage needed to make significant changes in our lives. It's said that it takes an event as significant as a near-death experience for us to start thinking about life differently. Many people don't live authentically until it's too late. This experience can seem as significant as birth or death to the participants. It might even be seen as a renewal or rebirth in many ways. While mystical phenomena are wonderful, they aren't very common. Far more common is the effect that ayahuasca has on our mental, social, and emotional health. Ayahuasca increases focus and concentration in some participants, which means we stay on task and become more productive. It can also be extremely effective in helping us deal with our past issues and trauma. Many people who suffer from depression, PTSD, and addiction disorders have experienced a positive impact from taking ayahuasca. People who suffer from chronic pain or those dealing with terminal illnesses often feel that life has become meaningless. Some feel numb. Some are perpetually exhausted, while others feel disconnected from everything around them. Ayahuasca can help ease chronic pain and make us feel calmer about our impending deaths. Participants say they feel more accepting of their fate and want to spend more time with their loved ones. Some people even see death as a beginning rather than an end. While these effects are psychological, they couldn't be possible without the spiritual aspect of these ceremonies. An exciting facet of ayahuasca that sets it apart from LSD or psilocybin is that the people who witness hallucinations or visions during these sessions are aware of themselves being in this state. This brings a whole new level of awareness to the entire experience. Perhaps this is why people come out of the ceremonies with extreme awareness of their issues and traumas. While there are a lot of benefits to taking ayahuasca, it also comes with specific side effects. Even if most of them are mild or rare, we should still be aware before committing ourselves to the ceremony. Physical risks. Usually, ayahuasca does not have adverse physical effects on people. By this, I mean that there are no significant changes to our major organs because of this substance. While some changes might be observed in the immune system, these are not long-lasting and don't affect our health in any manner. However, it can cause an increase in our body temperature. It's also been known to affect our blood pressure and heartbeat, so people with severe cardiovascular concerns should avoid taking ayahuasca. The most common side effects that people have during the ceremony are diarrhea and vomiting, also known as purging. This indicates that our bodies are ridding themselves of any impurities, whether physical or spiritual. However, too much vomiting and diarrhea can cause serious problems, including extreme dehydration and nausea. In certain rare cases, people can faint during the ceremony. While it's unclear why this happens, it might be due to physical exhaustion, if the ceremony is intense, and purging, which can leave us feeling weak. Therefore, it's important to ensure people don't get hurt in the unlikely event of fainting. Certain medications should not be taken during an ayahuasca ceremony, which will be discussed in a later chapter. Your teacher will ask you for an intake call, or they will request that you fill out a release form detailing your current medical condition. If nobody talks to you about your medical condition or medications before your first ceremony, I would avoid that teacher and community and find someone else to facilitate your first ceremony. Psychological risks. While most accounts of ayahuasca, both under clinical and ceremonial conditions, have good things to say about the experience, you must understand that each experience is intensely personal. As mentioned earlier, your state of mind and previous experiences with psychedelics, if any, will play a role in your experience. When undergoing a hallucinatory episode, you will usually feel emotions such as fear and anxiety taking over. You might even feel paranoid sometimes. But these effects are usually temporary. Also, when our hidden traumas resurface, they're bound to bring some discomfort with them. In extremely rare cases, these effects can be prolonged. Some people call these experiences bad trips, in which their anxiety, confusion, and paranoia can spiral out of control. However, my view is that a bad trip is simply your fears being exposed, and your inability to face those fears with an open heart, gratitude, and kindness. Ayahuasca reveals those aspects of ourselves that are difficult to acknowledge and process. Revelation is the first step toward healing. Apart from hallucinations, you might also have to deal with depersonalization. During an episode like this, You might feel like you're stepping outside your body to observe yourself from a distance. Again, these scenarios, including a loss of time and space, are not uncommon. Most people are conditioned to expect all of this. However, how these effects manifest within you can differ significantly from anything you've read or heard about. This is why choosing your retreat center and facilitator wisely is essential, which we will discuss later. You must exercise an abundance of caution if you have a history of mental disorders. I know there have been promising studies in therapeutic research using psychedelics, but these studies are small in scale and too few to come up with conclusive results. When you decide to participate in a ceremony, you need to understand that mental conditions can complicate matters. In some cases, your symptoms might disappear, only to reappear later in your life. In more extreme cases, your problems might be exacerbated. Again, these instances are rare, but you must understand that these things are possible. When it comes to long-term effects, studies have not shown any adverse effects on the body, neither in physical nor psychological terms. Frequent use of ayahuasca is common in some communities, and the results have been positive. The Santo Daime groups suggest drinking ayahuasca every 2 weeks for the greatest benefits. Participating in ceremonies every 6 to 8 weeks could be a remarkable cadence. There is no right or wrong answer here. Follow your heart, and it will lead you toward the optimal path. Now, it's time to prepare for the ceremony.
Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed that chapter. Next week, we're really going to get into preparation. We're going to talk about set and setting, preparing yourself for the ceremony, the importance of the dieta, which is how you eat and what you eat. We'll talk about avoiding stimulants of all forms, digital detox, social preparation. Who you hang out with is really important during this time. We'll talk about yoga and mindful meditation and movement and some emotional support. So come on back next week and enjoy chapter 2 of the book, Beginner's Guide to Ayahuasca. Look forward to seeing you back here. Hausch, hausch.